So how exactly do you properly speed test your SpaceX Starlink setup? I'm glad you asked. Let's check it out. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much once again joining me for tea time. Today we have a little bit of misty morning and focus combination. I love the zing and I love the bergamot. I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea, maybe a cup of coffee, hanging out, talking tech, talking photo, talking video. Today is a technology day. We're going to be talking about SpaceX Starlink and speed testing. I've been getting a lot of questions about this, and I'm also going to get into another question I've been hearing from you guys is why can't you get into your application right through a web browser? That is definitely the case as of a couple of weeks ago, and I want to talk to you a little bit about that. So before we get into this speed test, I'm going to actually do a speed test live with you guys now, and who knows what we're going to get. But I'm going to do the speed test. I'm going to give you some options on where to do these speed tests and which ones I recommend and why I recommend them. But before we get into this, I just want to say that if you enjoy this content, even in the least, throw it a thumbs up. That would be very helpful. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you are, thank you. I really appreciate that. Click this little button over here so when I go live, when a new video comes out, you'll be notified of it immediately. And also click all. They want you to click all. That's what the reps over there at YouTube told me. I don't know, it's supposed to help. Click all. Also, if you want to say thank you for all of my hard work, there's a little button down here. Click on that, give $1 or $2 if you like. If not, that's perfectly fine. Consider becoming a member of the channel. That would be even better. Also, if you haven't downloaded any of my ebooks, check them out. They're free just for you being here. Go to JCristina.com/books. And finally, if you're looking for more Starlink content, I put together about 272 videos so far just on SpaceX Starlink. Helpful how-tos, tips, tricks, what to do, what not to do, what to buy, what not to buy, and the why behind it all, because as I always say, this is always about the why. That is what is going on in this channel. Why? How is good, why is better, in my personal opinion. So let's get into some of this speed testing here. I'm going to share my screen with you. Let me go over to... All right, so before we even get started, I want to say that this is what your screen is going to look like if you go to dishy.starlink.com or 192.168.100.1, which we used to go to be able to get into the application and be able to do modifications right from your computer. Well, obviously, as you see here, it's no longer available. It was depreciated as of, I think, about a month ago, maybe 3-4 weeks ago. A lot of you guys have been asking me about it. This is what it looks like, and this is probably what your screen is going to look like also if you try going there. So don't be alarmed. Your Starlink is still working. The bottom line here is you can no longer get to it. And the reason being, I personally think, some people think that it has to do with the new version 3 dish and how you have to have your phone anyways to be able to do the setup with the latest and greatest dish, the ones that are flat without the fully articulating antenna, right? With no motors, no actuators. You have to go over there and do the adjustments. Well, as of, like I said, about 2-3 weeks ago, it is no longer a thing. You cannot do that. You have to use your phone to do the setup no matter what. I personally think that it has nothing to do with the setting up using the phone for the, let's say, the latest and greatest versions of these antennas, which don't have those motors where you have to do them manually. I think a lot of it has to do with security. I think that it's always a security risk when people can log into a network and then go straight into your router and make configuration changes or to do anything. It's a problem, all right? So not having the ability to get to your router from your internal LAN is really not a bad thing. Remember, if you use your phone, it's pretty much authenticated already. Think about it, right? You have to have your phone to be able to get into the router. That's multiple layers of authentication. Someone would have to steal your phone, have your password, have your face, or be able to put it into your face or whatever, and be able to get in through that. All right? It just, once again, adds a layer of protection. I think that it's for security, but Who knows? I could be wrong. Maybe it does have something to do with the dish and they just don't feel like updating it anymore. Because I know it looked kind of old. It never had all of the functionality that the app did. And it was probably done on purpose, once again, for security. So, moving on from that, let's get into some testing information. And I think that this is important. A lot of you guys have asked me, and a lot of times I see these reports where people give these speed tests and I look at them, I'm like, that's not right. That's not even close to being right. And it's because you guys just don't know. And that's what I want to do. I want to bring you into the know, so to speak, right? So that you know how to do the test properly. There's a lot of people that will show me like upload speeds that are like 300 megabits and stuff. And it's like, no, you're just looking at the wrong information. So number one, what you want to make sure that you're not doing is using your Wi-Fi. All right, if possible. Now, if you do not have any other way to get into your SpaceX Starlink router and Wi-Fi is the only way, well, that's what you're going to use. Okay, but for the most part, you want to either directly plug into your dongle or your Ethernet port on the router so that you can get the fastest speeds possible, right? With your Cat 5, Cat 6, Cat 8 cable or whatever you're using. Those are going to be your fastest speeds. You don't have to worry about Wi-Fi. You don't have to worry about structural issues or any type of interference, because that is some of the problems that people are having. So use your dongle, use your Ethernet port, and plug directly into it. Even if you're going from a dongle into a switch, plug into your switch. Or if you're going from your dongle into a third-party router, plug into that third-party router. That's still going to be a hard wire. You're going to get your faster speeds no matter how you look at it. Now, a lot of people, they'll use their phone, right? And while that's okay, I don't mind using your phone. The only thing is use the right app. Most people, they'll go and open up their Starlink app and start doing speed tests from it. And then later on, they're like, the tests just, they're never right. I feel like they're really fast on the app, and then I go online and it's slow. Like, what is going on, Joe? So I'm going to show you a speed test on here, right? I'm going to tell you not to do it, but at least that you can see it, all right? Let me go ahead and see if we can do like a top down. Can we do it? I think we did. So this is what it looks like when you go in here. I have the little Mars set up back here. I think it was on April Fool's Day. They put this Mars background. I love it, so we're using it. Anyways, if you come down here to where it says speed test, you're going to click on that. Now, this is a general speed test. We're going to let that go, see what we get here. We can see the latency is at 44 milliseconds. We're downloading right now at 164 megabits, and the upload is going and it's going. We got about 13 to 14 megabits upload. Now, we could run it again if we would like, but instead, let's go to Run Advanced Speed Test. Once you get to this screen, you're going to hit Start Advanced Speed Test, and it's going to do its thing. Now, the difference between this one and the previous one is this one is a little bit more detailed. It gives you a little bit more information, and instead of just doing a router to internet speed test, which it's doing right now, we're seeing 172, upload speed of 34 right now, 35. That's nice. I don't mind that. But this is where things gonna get quirky. People don't look at this and they'll look at the green one next to it. Now watch what happens here. It says device to router, and this is what people don't understand. Device to router, 240 megabits per second. And we're just gonna let it keep on running. We could see here now we have an upload speed of over 300 megabits per second. Now, a lot of people don't understand the difference. One is from your router to the internet. The other speed is from this phone to the router. That's why we're seeing, look, 213 megabits down, but 430 megabits up. And sometimes I'll get you guys to tell me that, hey, Joe, I have this incredible speed and we got like 400 megabits up. What's going on? Things are just great. It's like, no, you're not testing properly, right? You're using most likely the app on your phone. It's not the best place to test, all right? So now you know not to look at that. You know to look at the router to internet. But while that's good and all, that's not going to give you an accurate let's say, picture of the speeds that you're going to get when you're actually on the web. The reason is this is giving you speeds that go from your router out to the internet, but to the POP, or the point of presence. And it's doing that speed test like that. So it's not actually giving you speeds to the internet, so to speak. It's giving you a speed from like your router to your antenna, up to a satellite, down to a ground station, from the ground station over to the POP, right? The point of presence, and then back in reverse to you. So did it actually hit any servers on the way? Well, one or two, right? But that's inside of SpaceX, right? Their network. So you're going to see faster speeds for the most part than through a real site. Now, I wrote down 5 sites for you guys. These are like the top 5, and you could use all of them. You could use one of them, and I'll tell you which one I like the best. Number 1, you have testmy.net, testmy.net. Number 2, you have speedof.me, speedof.me. Next, you have speed.measurementlab.net. Maybe I'll put the links down here so that you guys can see them. But if you're listening through like the podcast version of this show, I'll put it in the pinned comment as well as in the description. You'll just be able to click on them over there. Now, number 4, after the speed.measurementlab.net, would be fast.com. Now, fast.com is by Netflix. It's a pretty good server setup that they have over there. And finally, number 5 would be speedtest.net. That's by Ookla. Now, speedtest.net is the one that I would recommend to you guys. So let's head over to my screen so you can see what's going on here. What we're going to do is we're going to go to speedtest.net. Now, this is obviously the best, as I call it. This is what I would say is an industry standard. Any system administrator you talk to, anyone that's in IT, they're going to recognize speedtest.net as most likely being the best out there. I personally use it for everything. And the reason being is the flexibility that you have with it. With the other 4 that I told you guys about, you cannot change little things, okay? One of the most important changes that you can do here on speedtest.net is right here. You can see it says change server. Right now, it came up with Georgia State University. Now, the reason being is I am currently in South Florida, but my POP, or my point of presence, is in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia. So this is the one that it found to be the best for me as of right now. Now, if I just do a complete refresh on this site, it might give us something different. It might give us Georgia State again. It did. Sometimes it'll do that, sometimes it won't. The reason it does it is because it's testing what the milliseconds or the ping is from me to it. So wherever the, let's say the closest or the least number of hops, the number of servers it has to go to get there, that's the one that it selects. Or it also checks to see if there's congestion. So if any of these servers right now, obviously Georgia State University is pretty much open for me. In other words, the hops to it is shorter than the rest, but then also it does not have a lot of congestion, so my milliseconds to it or its ping pong back and forth is low. Let's do one more refresh on this just because, just to see if it changes or if it keeps it the same. Finding optimal, there we go. Now we got Georgia Institute of Technology. So it did change, and that's going to happen all the time. And that is what is very important here. And you need to keep this or bear this in mind. When you do these tests, you want to test using the exact same server. You don't want to test on different servers because each server is going to have different latencies. They're going to have different amounts of congestion, and you're going to have speed tests all over the place. So if we do a test now on Georgia Institute of Technology, I'm going to hit go and let that run. We're going to let that run to see what we get, all right? And then we will do additional tests using that same exact server. Now, if we had to leave for any reason and then come back, we could simply go to change server and then look down the list for Georgia Institute of Technology, click on that, and now use that once again. This is very important. Also, what's very important is to do these tests consecutively. One after another, after another, after another. I would recommend doing 5 to 10 tests. Okay, that is a good number. And then take a mean or an average. So right now on this one, we got 200.73 by 18.2. 86. So just under 20 megabits up and 200 megabits down. Now there's a go button right here. If we hit go, it's going to once again do a test on this Georgia Institute of Technology. So let's go ahead and run that again. So what you're going to want to do is write down your download speed, your upload speed, and your latency for each and every test. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your downloads to start out with and add them all up. So let's say you ended up doing 6 tests. So you're going to add up all of those numbers, and then you're going to take that total and you're going to divide it by 6, the number of tests that you did. And then you will have an average of the speed that you ended up getting. Now look at this one. Wow, that doesn't look good. I mean, the download speed is absolutely fantastic. It's almost 320 by, let's say, 8.6. So let's call it 9. That's an issue. I don't like to see the 9 upload, but the 320, that's pretty damn quick. Now, the other thing here is, let me point out, do you see this yellow right here? This is your ping or your idle latency. They also have your download latency and your upload latency so that you know what your speeds are. Let me go ahead and hit go again, what that latency is. Now, Elon Musk was saying that he's trying to get it down to sub 20 millisecond latency. That would be awesome. If you don't know what latency is, it's basically the amount of time it takes data to get from you to the location that you're sending it to and then back. It's a round trip. So I always call it a ping pong. Remember the game with the little things to be like bing, bong, bing, right? It's the same type of thing like that. How long does it take the ball to go from this to here and then back? That's your ping. Very, very important information. The other thing is jitter. We'll get into that in just a second. We got 344.15 by 15.61. Not bad. 15 and a half, let's call it 16 if you want. Upload speed, I don't mind that. But look at that download speed, 344. I wasn't seeing that ever until just recently. Well, I shouldn't say ever. When I was beta testing this whole entire thing way back in the day, when there's only 112,000 people total on board, I have dish number like 2000 or something. So I've been there since the beginning. The bottom line here is I haven't seen those speeds since back then. So things are getting better. It is getting faster. Let's go ahead and go again. Now back to jitter. Some people don't know what jitter is, but jitter is very important. Now, what is it? Jitter is the difference between the slowest and the fastest. How your latency is. What is your ping? So let's say our ping is 20 milliseconds, then our ping is 25, and then our ping is 30, then it's 25 and 28. The variation between the slowest and the fastest is your jitter. Very important. Very important. A lot of people don't look at jitter, but it is so important. We want to see jitter as small as possible, meaning that the fluctuation or the difference between your fastest and your slowest ping, all right, is very close. That means that what's going to happen is you're going to have consistency. People that are gaming understand consistency, right? Because if you're doing a first-person shooter, then all of a sudden things go really laggy and slow and your ping goes up to like 200 and then it's back down to 20. That's a problem. And then later on, when you look at your jitter will be 100, which is nuts. We want to see jitter that's right around 5 milliseconds, 2 milliseconds, 0 milliseconds. That would be ideal. We're not going to see that most likely with satellites, but still as low as possible. This time we got 317 by, let's call it 20. We're going to do one more. So once all of your speed tests are done, like I said before, you're going to add them all up on the download side, then divide by the total number of tests you did. Do the exact same with upload, the exact same with your latency, and you're going to know a good idea. You're going to have a good, let's say, picture of what those tests look like at this specific time. Now, if you're a little ambitious, okay, you can do these tests, the same 5 tests, let's call it, in the morning, in the afternoon, and then at night. And now you're going to see when your specific area, your node, is congested. What do we get here? 244 by 23, not bad. Now, congestion is very important, especially let's say you're doing conference calls, meetings. Now, if you know that your node is experiencing a lot of congestion, let's say in the morning, well, you want to have your conference call, right, your Google meeting or something in the afternoon or at night, or whichever time is open or less congested. Now, if you're even more inclined, I would say do the exact same 3 tests, morning, noon, and night, all week. Do it for 1 week, 5 days, 7 days. And now not only do you know what time of day is best for you and your location and your node, but also what day is most likely better than other days. It's a good way for you to be able to plan on things, right? So for me, I upload gigs and gigs and gigs of 4K video. So it's very important for me to know when to upload that information, right? So for me, I have a better speed, in the morning. So I like to get all of my videos done as early as possible and have them uploaded before noon. Right around 1, 2 o'clock, things start getting a little bit slower. Then they speed up again. And then for me, they get slower around 5 o'clock till about 8 o'clock. That's when people get home, they're eating dinner, they're watching their Netflix and stuff. And then it speeds up again after 9. That's just what I get. You might get something different. The other thing that I want to tell you guys is there's always going to be this handshake between satellites. So even though you're able to use a specific server, all right, and then use that server consecutively, one after another, do these tests all in a row, right, over the course of, let's say, 5-10 minutes, do them one after another after another. The reason being is these satellites are traveling at 17,000 miles per hour. Not slow, right? So that satellite that you're using, let's say right this second, is going to be a different satellite in like 10-15 minutes. Also, when the satellites are coming by, right? Let's say you're getting a satellite that's coming by like right around here. Once it hits directly overhead, you're going to get your fastest speeds. It's at its closest distance, your lowest pings most likely. And then it's going to slowly move out. And as it's getting further and further away, you might get a little bit slower speeds until the handoff happens. What the hell's a handoff? I'm also glad that you asked about that. So as the satellites are coming by, your dish is going to connect to this satellite until it gets out of the area or out of range, and then it's going to connect to the next one. This satellite is going to hand over the data, what it's doing, all right? And now you're going to start tracking or picking up this satellite with no delay. Which is amazing that it can actually do this. Now, at the very beginning, there was a delay. During these handoff periods, sometimes if we would go into obstruction or our area where it shows errors, we would see like 0.2 seconds, 0.5 seconds. A lot of those little outages were those handoffs as they were coming by. We really don't see those outages anymore. So anyways, I just want to finalize with this. Do your tests, right? Don't take everything to heart because these tests, they fluctuate a lot. Stick with a specific server. Do it daily. Make sure you do them all in a row, your tests. Do your mean, do your averages, and then you'll get a good idea. Don't use the app on your phone. Make sure you use speedtest.net. Some people will say, can I use speedtest.net on my phone? Well, yeah, you could, and I recommend it if you're going to be testing anything besides Starlink. Because like I said before, try to test, instead of through Wi-Fi, try to test through your dongle, through your Ethernet, through your hard wired, through your LAN. That's where you're going to get your fastest speeds. Finally, speeds will be getting better. Faster downloads, faster uploads, lower latency, which is very, very important. The jitter is going to also get better when? People ask me this all the time, and the answer to that is when Starship does not blow up. The version 3, I used to call them the version 2 maxis, the full-size version 2s. Now we're calling them version 3s, but this has been so damn long. Those, once they get up there, all right, things are just going to turn upside down. Things are going to get so much faster, so much better. They're going to have 4 times the amount of capacity. They already have a ton of capacity because we're seeing congestion really coming down. This fast speeds, like we're seeing 200, 300 download, is sick. That was never the case. It was used to be like 90 to 100, 150, somewhere around there for like year and a half. When I first started, I was getting about 310. So now we're seeing actually even faster speeds than when I first started, when there was 112,000 people, not 2.8 million. A big difference, right? So the speeds will be getting faster. Just hang tight. Once we start seeing those version 3s get into orbit, everything will change. Our speeds are going to get better, latency better. And a lot of the gamers out there that have been talking to me on the lives, listen, gaming will get to be better. Remember, Elon Musk is a gamer. He loves his Diablo. He loves all of the gaming. That's just what he does for recreation. And he knows that ping is everything. Latency is so damn important, and so is jitter. And that's why he is working on that, or having SpaceX work on that. He has stated that he's going to get the Starlink under 20 millisecond latency. Just for a point of reference, cable is under 20 milliseconds. Fiber is under 20 milliseconds. Some fiber people are getting like 15 milliseconds, 10 milliseconds. Every once in a while, you'll find someone that's on fiber with like 1 or 2 milliseconds because they're really close to their NOC or their network operations center, the main servers. But for the most part, anywhere between 8, 16, 15 milliseconds latency is industry standard for high-speed broadband. And he's going to be there. So that's exciting. Anyways, guys, I hope you found this helpful, even a little bit. If you did, throw it a thumbs up. That would be awesome. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the merchandise that I've invented over the many years. Pick something up. Pick up some of my tees, pick up some of my merch, my shirts, my cups, and a ton of photography product that I've invented that you can find on B&H Photo and Video on Amazon and everywhere else, and of course on my website, JCristina.com. Appreciate your support. Many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay connected, and we'll see you in the next one. Love you all.